So on this day back in 2013, Ray Allen hit the shot heard across America that's in the finals to a game seven against the San Antonio Spurs. Do you remember where you was at that night?
Yeah, Hooters. Literally at Hooters watching game 6. You were there. I remember specifically about that night. Cause remember they were willing the championship down. They thought the Spurs had it done. So Heat fans were like leaving the building. People thought it was over. Right. And I remember it was one guy in particular. He was a Heat fan. He stayed there through the whole thing. And when Ray hit the shot, the whole place went crazy for real though. We were at Hooters.
Dropped out wings and stuff. I remember that. Yeah, but that was such a crazy shot because especially with Ray Allen hitting the shot, it was only fitting that he make it because those are just little moments like that he practiced before. That when he going through his shoot routine and his while he was playing his pregame routine, and just how he knew to get behind the 3-point line without looking at it. He knew where he was at. He just needed the ball in his hand. He was ready to let it go. Which if you're a shooter, you always gotta be ready to let it go.
Right. Yeah. And it is funny though because that just show the work that he put in, and he literally had a drill for doing exactly what he did in that situation. And it's funny because you have those type of drills, players have those type of drills, and you never even know if you're gonna be in the situation. But you got to stay ready, so you don't got to get ready.
Facts. And with that being said, I'm John W.
Fresh X,
and it's the Hoopers Morning Run. Playoffs.
This has been great playoffs.
No, yeah, it has. I know everybody was mad with some of the blowouts in the first round, but it's like even in between that, it was good playoffs being played. But good games being played. But before we get to the playoffs, the NBA hit us with a whirlwind of news the other day in the morning time. I don't know if you was able to keep up with everything that happened, but coaches parted ways, awards were awarded. I know me and you was talking about Rick Carlisle, right? And how we were saying, we don't know if he's going, because the rumors that he was going to go to Milwaukee had been kind of surfing out there. That's the bug gets fired. I mean, he was like, we don't know if he's going to leave Dallas because Mark Cuban.
No, I said he was not going to get fired.
That's what you said. Yes,
he was never going to get fired from Dallas.
So of course they parted ways, which is the new thing now. Are you surprised at all?
So I was surprised. Just because he's been there, and then Mark had assured, he said it was his job or whatever, and then the little whatever rumors came out about somebody running his rotations and stuff like that, and he called all that BS and how Rick is over all that or whatever. So it was just shocking that it happened after that.
Yeah.
But not surprising overall, just because he has been there 13 years, won championship.
Hasn't been out the first round in like 10 straight.
Right. So the one championship I respect Rick Carlisle as a coach.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the best. He has one of the best coaching minds.
Right.
But
the first person to use his own in the NBA in the recent, more modern era.
Right. But the championship definitely saved his tenure at Dallas.
Yeah.
And it gave him some more years there because, it's for Mark Cuban, it's always been about the stability. That's even why he was able to keep Dirk for so long, and he not leave and go somewhere else. Rick Carlisle had been the coach, like we said, 13 years. But then if you look at like faces around the organization, Don Nelson's in the front office after he was a coach there or whatever. So
now it's his son.
Yeah, but now it's his son. But Don, he's still around. He's around still. But even still, with it being his son, it's the stability of kind of having kind of the same faces around.
Right.
They were making the playoffs. They just weren't advancing. So,
right.
Cuban was all about fixing the roster and, player development and things like that. Long story short, it's just not surprising that he doesn't get rid of a coach so quick, which is why this job should be attractive because, you're going to have an opportunity when you're there. He's not really moving on too quickly. I think maybe Avery Johnson probably would have been the shortest.
10 years.
Yeah, one of those shortest tenures or whatever there. But he had just been there for so long. But any other coach that hadn't made it past the first round and that long would have been gone. I think he probably would have been gone if he didn't win that championship. And that winning Mark's first championship definitely. Mark is gonna let you stay until, as is reported, he told them that he was leaving.
Right.
So Mark didn't. He wasn't gonna fire the man that won him his first NBA championship.
And I know everybody's bringing up the Milwaukee job if it becomes available. But I know you say he might even consider going to Boston because that's where he played at.
Yeah, that's what I think. There. I don't even think that's been reported or nothing.
No, yeah, I know. Yeah, that was just
something I just said with the ties there and the position being open. I don't know how he would feel about being under Brad Stevens, if that would be a thing for him. But I mean, the Milwaukee job has to come open, and I think if they don't win the championship, is more likely going to come open, because if they win the championship, unless Bud leaves, he's not getting fired after winning the championship.
Nah, but that would be funny if he got fired after winning the championship.
Right. But regardless, if it's offered to him sooner than later, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he got the Boston job like next week. I don't know if Boston want to wait and really scout some more people or whatever, but just the ties there and Boston thinking they have a championship ready roster. So you're going to bring in, I would, shout out to the younger coaches. That's cool in certain situations, but I don't think teams that's expecting to win a championship necessarily want to bring in a new coach typically. Yeah. That's, just what I think. I think Boston would bring in Rick Carlisle, and you put him with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They're going to make some other roster movements, and we'll see where they go from there.
Right.
But it makes sense just with the ties of Boston also likes to keep it Boston.
Boston. Definitely. Scott Brooks and the Washington Wizards couldn't agree on contract terms, so they decided to part ways. Is this a good...
That's not surprising to me. I thought he was just going to be fired.
Definitely.
I don't know why they negotiated a contract with Scott Brooks. Honestly, no disrespect.
You're not even just to speak on Scott Brooks, but just the Washington Wizards head coaching position. Is that a job that's going to be looked at as a better job, or a job where it's like maybe it's a starter job and we'll see if you can prove yourself?
Right. See, Washington should be looking for an experienced coach. But I think a new coach is going to get that job. I can see Cassell. I can see Ame from Philly. Darvin Ham. Becky Hammond could be in the running for that position. Chauncey, I think a new, Chauncey is what happens depending on what happens in Portland.
Right.
But I think a new coach could get that job. But the Wizards you got veterans in Westbrook and Bradley Beal, obviously, and but then you got younger players, Thomas Bryant, Ryu,
Denny. He'll be back next season at some point.
It's like about development, but it's also like Washington should be trying to build a contender, because Bradley Beal is your star and he's not a younger player. Right. So I would want a veteran coach and a few more veteran players in Washington. So Washington, they should take their time with this head coaching job, and they should try to convince what's been around the last few years, again, Masai Ujiri, to come to the Wizards. And
somebody say Masai should go to
put some bets there.
To go to Dallas.
That wouldn't be bad in Dallas, but I don't think the opportunity to be there in Dallas.
No, I feel you.
Dallas not necessarily looking for a GM. I don't even know what the Wizards are, but if I was a Wizards, I would get him.
I think he can help build that, because you got good pieces in Washington already. I think he can find some more right pieces that are going to help them fit in.
Yeah.
First and foremost, a backup point guard and another big man when Thomas Bryant is out.
But I like my bad, but I do want to say I like Sam Cassell or Becky Hammond in Washington, just because point guards, and then you working with a guard and Westbrook. Westbrook and then a guard, Bradley Beal. So I like those two as far as if we're gonna go the younger coach route. But I would look for a veteran coach, someone that's gonna command attention there. Because Washington, you gotta make playoffs. Right? Next year's not making playoffs; it's advancing in the playoffs. So you don't got these young stars. Trey advancing. Shout out to the Atlanta Hawks. Trey advancing in the playoffs. It just shows his talent and the situation he's in. But he's a younger player. Your star Brad, but hit his 30s. We can't just be first round. We can't just be first round and out.
No, I feel you.
Westbrook is 30s, but Brad's he's getting closer there. I'm about to look it up now. But
why are you looking that up? Stan Van Gundy was snuck up on me. I didn't even see that.
27.
Yeah, it's right there. He's been turning his prime.
28 soon. Actually, 28 in a couple weeks. Happy early birthday. It's coming soon.
That's how you, Brad. But yeah, Stan Van Gundy was also let go. They're basically saying, it's been reported how New Orleans can't keep Zion happy right now.
That's what they always gonna say.
In fact,
Zion don't even seem like that guy. But I'm unhappy here. I don't know Zion personally, but he don't even seem.
Yeah. I don't know, but this is a good. Honestly, I think this is one of the better opportunities but I would still like to see a younger coach come in and help kind of mold this team. Maybe a coach that also played in the NBA. So this is where Sam Cassell, Chauncey Billups, maybe.
Yeah.
I seen somebody, I think it was Nick Andre, said Kenny Atkinson, maybe. Kenny Atkinson is a good starter coach to help
You saw what he did him, bro.
But who would you want to see get this job?
That I think this is a job for a younger coach, but a younger coach with a vision. He was a former player or assistant with some time in, like May out of Philly, who comes from that San Antonio tree. But then, like you say, Sam Cassell, Chauncey, those are good options down in these areas. Kenny Atkinson could be great for New Orleans. I don't buy the reports that can't keep Zion happy. He just played his first full season in the NBA. Right. I thought Stan Van Gundy could have been a good pickup for them. I actually thought he should have went somewhere else, but I thought he could have been a good pickup because they picked up Stan because the problem with New Orleans is that we've been, not me in particular, because I told people they weren't really as good. They've been overselling the team the past 2 years, thinking that they were already playoff contending teams, but they're still at the building blocks. So they kind of try to rush the process, even though Zion average 27. If you got an all-star in Brandon Ingram, they're still really bad at a lot of positions, and they're really young, especially with Zion being your best player and being as young as he is. Yeah. So I try to rush this process because David Griffin, who I think, he's ambitious, he thinks big, but it's just like he's putting too much on the team instead of trying to develop them. They came in with expectations of playoffs last year when they should have just been trying to get better. And if we made the playoffs, we made the playoffs.
Right now, exactly.
Both years, actually, that the first year, and then Zion gets hurt or whatever, and then you think, oh, Zion's back for the whole season, so we're going to be better. It's like, no, y'all still developing. Zion is still trying to figure out, like, you see the points he put up and don't realize how much he's still trying to develop in the NBA because he's really only playing one way right now, but he's so amazing at playing that one way. But it's going to be some shortcomings with that, Right. Some people thought he's going to be able to shoot the ball, and then you come in this year and, he doesn't shoot the ball. Then you think, all right, he's going to handle the ball, and he can handle it, but he's not a ball handler, seriously. Right. So you got to figure out how to play Zion and to maximize what he do the best. And then you also got to realize this weapon that you got in Brandon Ingram, 25 points per game player who you can go to and have court and things like that. But then you got the ups and downs with Lonzo. I know everyone thinks Lonzo had a career year last year, but at the end of the day, Lonzo was the number 2 pick, and he's a solid NBA player. He's a great defender, but Lonzo just doesn't have it at times. He's gotten his 3-point shot up and things like that, but Lonzo's still very well developing himself. 4 years in the league, that's understandable. Yeah. But
still has a problem with injuries at this point too.
Yeah, so I'm not even saying this to try to be negative towards. I'm just trying to be realistic. People thought that New Orleans was going to be in the playoffs automatically because we got Zion, and it don't work like that sometimes. Right. So and you bring in a veteran and Stan who's thinking compete and make the playoffs. I mean, David Griffin once said that Drew Holiday is an MVP candidate. I mean, I like Drew, but he's never been an MVP candidate. He thinks highly of his players.
He does.
So you bring in a vet coach who is going to, make these players accountable, but he's not really there to develop them. Even though Stan is a good teacher, but as an NBA coach, he's not really a developer. Honestly, you get him some veterans and y'all try to win. Right. So they should go with a younger coach, I think, and they can kind of grow together. A coach that's strong, possibly playing in the league, modern as far as offensive scheme, because you're gonna have to use Zion differently. Because Zion is a center. I mean, he's a center, but you're going to have to put the ball in his hands so he can be effective. And then you want to use the athleticism, but you don't want to overuse it because, as I said before, you got to maximize Zion's prime. So that ends my long spiel.
And just real quick before we all switch up to the Rookie of the Year.
That's an attractive job, though. Is it attractive?
No, yeah.
It's an attractive possibilities that could be there. I do want to say that.
But, speaking of Zion as a center, him and Steven Adams, while they don't necessarily clash, they do seem sometimes to get in each other's way. Yeah. And I don't think they figured out, if that's going to be your center while Zion is here, I don't think they figured out how best to use them together.
I think they need – it's such a pleasure to have Brook Lopez because he's such a real center, but he's turned into such a three-point shooter. He's never in the paint. No, it's so hard to find that guy.
But if that's how it's going to be, I think they should run more cross screens and just things like that to get them moving on the opposite side. Because at the end of the day, Steven Adams is Steven Adams set a screen for you. You getting open for a bucket.
Right, but he looks bad next to Zion. He didn't even like a starting center next to Zion, but neither did Derek Favors. And then, even though I'm saying he just got dunked on by Kawhi on a sprained ACL, no disrespect, Sticks, but
I think
a traditional big isn't going to work next to Zion because he's going to have to play some center. So obviously, you got Jackson Hayes who's going to be like a roller because you got to have some type of size. But they're going to have to really look for a big that's going to be shooting the ball and not going to be taking up Zion's space in the paint.
And one that can pass as well.
Right, and then you're going to have Brandon Ingram working in the mid-range.
Yeah.
Steven Adams, I would be trying to move him because it's value in Steven Adams. He didn't look good this year. Plus, he had some injuries, but he didn't look good this year. And I think on the right team, like I've been telling Boston to get him, he looked like that starting center.
Boston listens to us.
Yeah, so.
Right. But on the Rookie of the Year, real quick, LaMelo Ball won that. I know a lot of these awards have been I ain't gonna say controversial, but everybody haven't necessarily agreed with everything.
Right, yeah.
Even though I think Anthony Edwards should have won, especially with he was consistent all year and he picked his play up once he starting in the second half of the season as well. Like, I don't think people really mention that, but
that's the same argument that they make for LaMelo. Once he got the minutes, LaMelo started. LaMelo won the award in the first 2 months when he came out and he proved people that he could actually be an NBA player. He wasn't just a hype player, so he didn't won the award.
Nah.
But Anthony, I think he should have won also.
No, I think I don't know how close it was. I ain't peeped on. I don't really look at those numbers, but I'm pretty sure even if it should be closer than what people think it was. I don't think a lot of people really gave that chance to really prove that he was Rookie of the Year because a lot of people once it was LaMelo, it was LaMelo and nobody else.
Right. I mean, it was like I said, a lot of people had it wrapped up in January anyway. I can't remember exactly when he got hurt and went down, but they already had it wrapped up. Basically once he moved to the starting lineup.
Right. So shout out to LaMelo Ball for winning.
That shows it's a long season, and people, I was just talking to someone I can't remember on Twitter, but it's a long season, and we're wrapping up awards in January when we still have 2 to 3 months left to play. Things still happen, and it just doesn't make sense. You got to look at you're not the rookie of the month to look at rookie of the first half of the season. It's the rookie of the year, or it's the MVP for the whole season, all NBA for the whole season, not just what you did for a couple of games. So that's why playing the games matter, and what you do all year it should matter, not just a couple months stretch. I mean, that's why Joel Embiid didn't win rookie of the year. He played more games than LaMelo. I mean, less games than LaMelo, obviously, but it was like, man, how are we gonna give him with the great numbers that he did and the fun that he was when he came out? Because Joel, just like LaMelo this year, was exciting. Right. It's like, you just ain't playing enough games. You got hurt. It is what it is. And playing the game is part of winning the awards. But
best ability is availability.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Like, you got to play those games and got to be consistent within your numbers. But so that wraps up the NBA news and what was a crazy day. My bad. We got to talk about Kawhi real quick. Can't forget Kawhi. Sprained ACL, and it's funny because Kawhi is one of those players.
Wait, I don't know if it's officially sprained ACL, but that's what's been reported. Is that official? I know they said they thought it was ACL injury, then it came out it was sprained ACL. I haven't seen anything from the Clippers officially, but I believe it's a sprained ACL, so we're gonna go off that.
Right, so it was reported as a sprained ACL, and it's funny that Kawhi is one of those players that you see NBA Twitter and even some national media members complain about him load managing, but it's been reported over the years that he does have a knee that's basically like just is falling apart on him. Like, he has to sit those games. But this year, I think he played 8 back-to-backs, and then you still, got the grind of the playoffs and just everyday life of being a basketball player. Like, Kawhi's one of those players I can see him retiring kind of early-ish because, like, do you want to keep playing on a bad knee that's just going to get worse, honestly?
Not even if you want, are you going to be able to? Because that's how it ended for Brandon Roy. And, his run in Toronto was so great that year, but a lot of people forget, like, I would say conference finals on, he really played on one leg, averaging 30 a game because his knee has been getting, worse and worse. That's why he wanted to, hit a certain amount of games per year and a certain amount of minutes or whatever. So, but I know that news had to be devastating. It's good that it's a sprained ACL because I believe that means, they just handle some business and you can get them back. But I want to shout, couple players stepping up. Reggie Jackson stepped up. Marcus Morris stepped up, but you got to give Paul George his credit. He came out there and dropped 37.
16 rebounds, 5 assists.
You know, he played to a level that I want to say that Paul George looks like a player that could be the best player in the NBA. Not that he is, but we just looked at his talent, his athleticism, how he defended, shooting the ball, his size, 6'8", 6'9", prototypical player. He looks like he could be the best player in the NBA.
Right.
And he had those nights like that. It was good to see him leading them to that win because it's like step up for a few games. Everyone step up for a few games because the Clippers still got the talent to win. Even though you missing, you already down Ibaka, who's going to be important for them, and now you're down Kawhi. But if you win a few games, you get into the conference finals. You get Kawhi back in the conference finals. You know, he can help get you to the NBA finals.
All right. And glad you brought up the Clippers first. Like I said, they have 3-2 now. The Utah Jazz. The small ball seems to be the best option for them because Rudy Gobert doesn't want to guard the three-point line, and Nicholas Batum is basically just standing out there shooting pregame routine jump shots.
Right.
And
true.
I'm not going to discredit his defensive player of the year because he's not going to guard that. That's not what player he is. He don't want to go out on the wing. But how difficult does that make it for Utah to play defense when it's basically 5 shooters out there now, and now you playing 4-on-5 defense?
Exactly, and then especially when Rudy is like he doesn't just want to go out there, and Batum is mainly going to be a spot shooter, but when he's out the paint, now everyone has these high team efficiency defensive numbers, but now he's out the paint, and you basically got to guard some players one-on-one. You really see how good some of these players are on defense, so you don't want to get beat. So he's just lagging to the paint because they're getting beat, and then at the same time, he's shown that he can't guard the perimeter at all. So even he's nervous of Nick Batum going by him, dropping off a pass, or even getting a bucket or whatever. So you got to start thinking if you want to take him off the court. So that does make it tough because that's what you do. I wonder if maybe they should consider. I guess this is why you should have like some zone schemes in your packages, the defensive packages. So when teams do go to small ball, if I had a big like Gobert, that's what I would do.
Right.
Is have some zone schemes. But I mean, you really just gotta hope that you can scheme and all these things all you want.
Right.
At some point, your talent just take over. You just gotta be able to hold your ground. And then, or you gotta hope it's an off night for the team.
Right, who seems like he's shooting wide open jump shots. So he's making the majority of them, and then he's still. I know he looked bad in Charlotte, especially on that contract.
$25 million a year.
But he's still able to create off the dribble a little bit as well. So even if Batum does, not Batum, but even if Rudy Gobert does close out on him, he's blowing by him off 2 dribbles and finding an open man for a layup, and that leaves more room for Paul George to get layups and Marcus Morris, and it even takes away some defensive rebound opportunities when he does decide to step out there. So I think that's one thing that Utah is going to have to fix if they want to go to Game 7. The Clippers, on the other hand, I don't expect another 37-16 game out of Paul George. It would be nice for him to do that, but
he can get 30 again.
He's averaging 30 right now. He is averaging 30 right now. He's averaging 30 right now. But
it's more so you're going to get the same from Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson. You might get it from one of them, or you're going to get that again from both of them. I'm not worried about Paul George. I think Paul gets 30 again. I think he gets an easy 30. The 16, like, all right. You was on it for that one.
Nah, yeah.
But I can see him getting 30. But it's like,
okay, so
you're going to need Marcus and Reggie Jackson to contribute, and you're going to still need Luke Kennard and Batum to contribute also.
All right. Well, with that being said, Paul George, who has been playing good.
But I'm not bad about to say, but at least you're 3-2, so if you get one, you get one more to get right.
No, yeah. But Paul George, who he's been playing good overall this NBA playoffs, even though as quiet as it's been kept because nobody wants to talk about it because it's Paul George. But when you see Paul George, and I just kind of figured he would have a game like this because I think Paul George is so used to being the number one option, whether that's facilitating, scoring, just having an offense center around him. And then when you got to play next to a player like Kawhi, well, I don't think they still really figured out how to best incorporate their offensive styles. You get a little more freedom because that player isn't out there with you. So you have opportunities to step up and have big games like this. I know he said he was quoted saying, he had to go back to Indiana, Paul George, without Kawhi out there. which I can say that is where he had some of his best playoff success, especially just advancing in the playoffs.
Right.
Oh, but like I say, shout out to Paul George, because sometimes you just got to come out there and you just got to hoop for real. And that's what he did. Like I say, 37, 16, and 5. I don't like say, maybe not the 16 rebounds again, but maybe he does get another 33-point night close him out.
He usually be 30. At the minimum, he usually be 35 and 5. So, that's saying a lot in itself, I would say.
No, definitely. No, to the Eastern Conference, I want to go back a couple games first to talk about it, because we ain't had a chance to talk about it yet. But KD in the big win in Game 5 had 49, 17, and 10, played 48 minutes. Of course, everybody's seen the picture by now. But Steve Nash is hugging KD at the end of the game like he had to unleash the secret weapon.
Right.
And he didn't want to. But, of course, everybody heard the chatter and seen it on NBA Twitter about how it's a legacy game and this, that, and the third. First and foremost, I don't buy it. So because now they come back and lose last night.
Exactly.
So it's like,
it's Game 7 a legacy game, man. What happens if they lose Game 7?
Right. But even still, just to see him,
that's even my whole point in it.
But even still, just to see him have that big of a game, it's just good to see. Right, like as a fan, get what it means for his legacy, because it doesn't mean anything. But just to see him have a monster night like that, like I say, play the whole game and still have more points than have minutes played, is just a different level of greatness.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff Esports. Jeff said it is cool to see someone's perspective that got to watch it. But Jeff said he said it's on Twitter, watching KD play, he was like, this is what it was like to see Jordan on one of those nights that he was on. And it just, we always get one of those games every couple of years from one of the great players. And it's what's needed. It's like the LeBron Boston game, where I can remember going into that game, same conversation for LeBron. This is a legacy game. If he don't do this, if he don't do that.
Right.
And then he go out there and you can tell, we've all seen the picture of him where it's just like he on fire. And a stare down that he got his ultra focus, and he go out there and get him 40 and just kills the Celtics. And these players, obviously it's another level because we're all tuned in. Right. So that makes it seem like it's another level. But we've seen LeBron do that. We've seen KD go out there and give these points. The fact that he's never stepped up when he has 43 in the NBA Finals game where his team is lagging, he hits the shot to put them up,
right,
or the walk down 3 in Game 3. It's like we've seen him do things before. So to act like this just has never been done before,
right,
it's crazy. And I made a joke the other day. I said, this is why KD plays with better players, so he don't have to kill y'all like this every night. He tried to give y'all a chance. So he's like, at least if I play with somebody else, I'll pass the ball.
Definitely. But like I said, Milwaukee comes back and pick up a win last night.
Oh, I gotta say one more thing. It's just funny too, because also coming to that game, it was, he's not the facilitator and this and that, so he's really just gonna go out there and score. And then he has a triple-double. And it's like, it's not that he can't do certain things. He plays his role. His role is to score. You got to go back to the run of Michael Jordan in the 80s. I think it was 86, 87, whatever it was. Our dad can correct us on that. But when they moved him to point guard because they needed a point guard on the guard got hurt, and he gets 8 triple-doubles over 12 games because it's like, this is what my role is to do on the team now. And he said he didn't want to do that no more, so they got a point guard and moved him to the 2. But KD can facilitate if needed, but that's not the role that he plays.
Right. And just like that. That's just the way it is. Like Phil Jackson is the greatest coach ever. The best thing he ever did to the game of basketball was convincing Michael Jordan he's a role player.
We're all role players. Some people role is to shoot the ball.
Right. Yeah. Like definitely. Like that's what KD is, because KD is just a pure hooper. I know. Recently, I showed one of my coworkers some KD summer runs from the lockout year, and he was like, "That's what that reminded him of." Like,
that was definitely one of the memes that went around. It was KD tonight, and they had him in his record jersey. He dropped 60 at record. So it's definitely cool to just watch it, because also they needed it in that game. They were really lagging. Jeff Green hit some threes or whatever. Blake Griffin, shout out to him for taking the most out of his opportunities. I think he had 17. Jeff made his first 7 threes, finished 7 for 8. But other than that, I don't think nobody else really scored. Nobody else definitely had over 3 points. And, they were behind 16, I believe, in the game. And he just got in the zone and he took it over. And, that's what you want to see. that's what they needed. So that makes it even better because to step up in that moment, and it's not just like y'all just killing them from the start and they just came out lagging. It was like, nah, I put them on my back too. So they can do that when needed. He's the best player in the association for a reason.
Ooh, spicy talk in the morning.
I mean, but nah, I
got a whole theory about. I've put a whole theory together why that is true. That he's the best player in the world in the NBA, but I'm not gonna get into that.
I don't say the best player in the world. I never really got that. They don't play the world anyway. Even if he is the best player out there,
because anybody can play in the NBA, any team, any country.
I guess true.
So that actually is why that's why it's a world championship, because technically any team from any country could play in the NBA. Canada.
Then we got a team from Europe.
If we get that, because I mean we could
expansion.
No, that's another episode. But they did remember that was the thing they were trying to figure out how to get a team.
No, that's they were. That was definitely in motion. We'll see over the next 20 years.
Yeah, definitely. Because this was another conversation for another episode. But anyway, Milwaukee came back and picked up a big win in Game 6 to send it to 7. Of course, this is a needed win. You needed that. Is that a game you think Brooklyn just let them have just to kind of like, well, we back at home for Game 7, or that's just a game Milwaukee won?
Milwaukee definitely came out and won it because Brooklyn wants to get it over. Because the more you play, the more James has to play. So shout out to James for coming out there and being the best decoy in the NBA. He basically said, hey, I can dribble the ball for you. I can dribble for you. I'm gonna pass it for you. And he even did a little more scoring last night. But they definitely came out there to try to steal that win. But it's just a tougher night. Again, you're not really getting. First of all, Joe Harris, I would trade him after this season because you can't have what he's doing. He just don't exist. And I don't care if he goes on a great run after this. Like he just not been there for them at all. And I get tough shooting nights, but it's when you get to the point where you're not even shooting the ball easy because with Kyrie not being there, James not being able to move how he's moving. How isn't Joe Harris taking 10, 15 shots a night? I mean, it's easy for you to go 0 for 5, 1 for 7, have 4 points. It's just terrible. You shot 47% from 3 during the season. You're on the court because you shot 47% from 3.
Yeah, definitely.
So you just can't have that. So you definitely go out there and you try to win. KD has a tougher shooting night. He has 32, but he takes 30 shots to get there, which, if KD takes 30 shots, that means he's not making the shots that he want to make or whatever. Or he goes to the stretch and not taking them. So they definitely want to get the win. But Milwaukee being down and just trying to not give up. You don't want to lose at home. Chris Middleton, whenever he's Milwaukee's best go-to perimeter player, they win the game. I've been saying that since last season, pretty much. But you get 38 from him. I think Giannis had 28, 30, something like that. I think he had 30. For sure he had 30. So they came out there and stole that win. Just because you got to push it to 7.
Yeah, facts. And I know you just brought up Giannis, so just stick with it right there real quick. I know a lot of things people complain about with Giannis and his offensive game. I'm not even going to get in his free throws right now. But
I just think they need to call a violation on Giannis every time he goes to the line. It's 10 seconds every time.
Well, that's what we're going to end that. Yeah. But, a lot of people, since Giannis has kind of started his mercurial rise into superstardom, have been saying, he needs to improve his perimeter ball handling and his three-point shooting. And a lot of people still complain today now that why is he shooting those shots and why is he handling the ball so much?
Right.
And as you were saying earlier in the, off camera was, that's what y'all wanted him to do. And that's what y'all said that he needed to develop. And now that's what he works on and he doing the game. Y'all still don't like it. Right. Whereas opposed to what would have been better, which is still not too late because I think he's 26 right now.
25, 26.
He should have worked on more of a mid-range and low post game. And that would have made him makes him way more effective, honestly. Because not to say he can't, of course, you're going to handle the ball on the perimeter, but shouldn't be your main set of offensive thinking.
Right. His training over the past few years has been using him like a guard when he should have been playing like the position that he is, a power forward. In this power forward, obviously he would have just been more of a transcendent power forward because he would have been able to handle the ball a little bit more. But
Kevin Garnett.
But I would be looking at power forwards like KG, like Chris Webber, who could grab it off the rebound, push the ball, pass the ball, and things like that. Tim Duncan face up power forwards, and you go from there. I mean, even when he getting the ball now, he gets on the perimeter and he starts just in and out dribbling. Like you're not beating nobody. I don't know if it's in his mind he thinks he beating them with his dribbling, but he's not at all. He should be able to. You should be able to face up, but you make a move and you use kind of your strength because Giannis has some sneaky strength, and you can get him with your quickness. You get him out of the way, and you can dunk on people, get your jump hook, and then even develop that mid range. Watch some Tim Duncan tape, maybe you can get the bank shot.
Right.
But instead, Jason Kidd put the ball in his hands so he can get comfortable with the ball in his hands, get his handle up. Right. They turned that into making him into a point guard, where now he's a point forward when he never really should have been that, and they haven't won that way. And you see when Milwaukee, when things start going bad for them, they regress to that, and they go back to his ISO offense, him handling the ball. But when they're moving, like last night, the ball's in Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday's hands, and they're playing through Giannis on the post because that's where he's most effective.
No, yeah, I definitely agree with that. And just, it's just, and also just add other elements to your game. Like if you can actually, like I said, you ain't got to be a back to the basket, 3-4 dribbles, backing guys down. Like even face up, you can still dribble the ball. You can dribble the ball right there between.
Exactly.
You can dribble the ball in those areas.
Man, nobody's saying being a robot either way, but Milwaukee is also one of those heavy analytical teams. So if it wasn't a dunk or a three, it didn't make sense. But you can't cheat the game, man. Look, you can't cheat the game of basketball. That's my thing.
Right.
They try to cheat the process. You try to cheat the steps. You can't cheat the basketball guys, man. I thought he was just gonna develop a three. He could barely shoot a mid range. He's just gonna develop a three. He's just gonna dunk. You're just gonna shoot threes and dunks. That's what all you're gonna do against the best players in the world. It don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You gotta develop your full game, and then you're cheating his game because at the end of the day, 2 is a 2. An easy bucket is an easy bucket. Right. You're putting him at a disadvantage, trying to make him dribble the ball, and now a dude like Kawhi says, because I just watched the Phil Handy, shot the Phil Handy, he was on All the Smoke, and he says, they went down 2-0 in Toronto. Nick Nurse said, we're going to make some changes. Giannis is on the perimeter handling the ball, and Kawhi said the changes, I'm guarding Giannis, because now a perimeter defender is going to guard you, and you can't dribble for real. So, but opposed if he was on the post, I can shoot over him. I can just lean over him and lay the ball in there. So you can't cheat the basketball guys. They try to cheat some process. They try to cheat some steps. And it started as Jason Kidd trying to make him more comfortable.
Because you remember the original plan was for Jabari Parker to be the 4 and him to be the 3.
Right.
And that was literally how they drafted him. And of course, it was like that didn't make sense.
It did, right. He should have been a 4. He's a power forward. Giannis is a power forward. The 4. He's not a 2. He ain't a 1. He can play some center, but I don't even really like him at center.
I like him at center, and once you get into the game and you get into those situations,
you get those situations. That makes sense. That's fair. But when he's not there,
now I think if they would have really fully thought of it, I think him and Jabari Parker would have been a good 5-4 combination. Because of course, Jabari Parker had the 5, but because it still helps with the inside-out game. Jabari Parker is clearly the better perimeter ball handler. That's just me though. But
all I know is
way past that now.
When Giannis is out there with PJ Tucker and Giannis is at the 5, and it's just those two, PJ Tucker's at the 5. PJ Tucker's the 7, not Giannis.
But that's sad. But yeah, shout out to Milwaukee Bucks.
Shout out to PJ Tucker though. His plus minus is great. Even though he be fouling.
Yeah, he doesn't poke Kevin Garnett, but Kevin Durant and James
Harden. Like both of them.
And have you seen the James Harden no look? Like hit him with the no look. But no, also the Atlanta Hawks and Philadelphia 76ers series. Atlanta in their last 2 wins of the series came back from big deficits. The last one it was 26 points. I don't remember what
it was 26 was the biggest lead, but it was a little under 20 going into the 4th. Okay. So still almost 20.
And I don't remember what the win was before that.
17. It was like 17. It was close to 20. They basically 20-point comebacks.
Right. And I would say, and both comebacks were kind of led by Lou Williams. Well, not even kind of, but they were led by Lou Williams off the bench because Philly's bench just can't get it together when they just for a couple minutes to where we can hold the lead and don't let the lead just get walked down on us to where we got to break our 4th quarter rotation, which Doc had to do early in the game, in the 4th quarter last night. but onto the winning team. What is Atlanta doing just that's keeping them in these games, honestly? Well, not even keeping them in these games, but helping them get back in the game.
Right. For one, definitely Lou just coming in and picking his spots and picking apart the defense. I do want to say shout out to Atlanta for fighting hard and coming to the game, but coming back with 20 points in the fourth quarter is a recipe for bad luck. But
I guess they should know best about it because they was giving up the fourth quarter leads.
Exactly right. So now you're on the other side. So that's definitely something that we've done it twice. You don't want to make it a thing for game because there's a reason Philly's up. So the adjustments need to be made. Right. So you're not fighting so hard every time. But really, they're just taking advantage of that. That second unit. Is nobody that can guard Lou at all. Gallo, he looks like Dirk at certain possessions out. How he's just shooting over people and things like that. But their second unit is just simply outplaying the first unit, and that Joel is getting tired because he's putting a lot into taking those leads. Because I think in Joel Embiid's mind, he want to sit down in the fourth quarter because I'm playing through this tournament. So he wants to get all the rest that he can. I mean, you even look at last game, they broke his rotation so quick. He still had his ice and everything on. He had to walk it all the way to the scorer's table or whatever because he's supposed to be, he's supposed to sit down. It was even to a point where the lead should have been y'all can push it away and I don't even got to come back. So now you're coming back early. He's already slowing down in the second half. So now you're trying to put all that together. And then when you get when Luton brings the lead back, now you get Trae Young back in there, who he's been playing good on the pick and roll. Trae Young's great down the stretch. He doesn't miss his floaters in the fourth quarter. He could have a tough game from the floating, but when we get in the fourth, he's making them, and he's making the right looks out of that pick and roll. So now you put a lot of pressure on them. And then the drought that Philly, I think their rotation being broke really affected their drought in this game. Because in my personal opinion, Atlanta's not really doing nothing to stop them on defense. I think Atlanta offense is putting a lot of pressure on them. Philly's still getting the shots that they want, which I don't like, but they're putting so much pressure on them. So when you're not making them shots, Atlanta's coming right down and it's a bucket. It's a bucket. Even if it's not a three, it's a two. It's a two. Here, I'm getting fouled. I'm trying to free throw. It all adds up. And now we're tired. Joel's tired. Ben isn't being aggressive. You missing Danny Green, who's more of a vet, and even though Danny Green, he'll have those times where he'll miss shots, but Danny has never turned down the shot, which is important because you got to take them to make them. So you don't have him. And then, as far as the last game go, Tobias Harris is just flat out terrible. 4 points, and I think he took 4 shots in the second half. And
have that again.
And Atlanta taking advantage of it. Lou and Trae look really well. They played well together on the court because I think Trae's gonna handle the ball. But Lou can take the ball from Trae, and he knows that he's gonna get a bucket. And then I also just want to shout out John Collins because it's been all the trade talks about him. And then when he was somebody, earlier in the season said that the team needs to get back to the ball movement, people kind of got on him about it, said he was being selfish, so he was thinking about himself when he's sacrificed more than a lot of players on this team. In my opinion, as far as going from a 20 and this player to taking 17, because I'm taking less shots to get more people to eat. Probably lost some money because of it. But, and he had some tough games in the first round, but he's really been eating. He's been eating in this round. So, John Collins, Trae, and Lou Williams, and, got to give Gallo and his ugly mohawk some credit.
No, definitely. What does Doc need to do? Because it seems like he's not making the proper adjustments at the proper times, honestly.
So I get with Joel, it's kind of hard because you don't want to play Dwight too many minutes and then there's no center after Dwight. So, but you got to look at Joel's minutes. But you got to shorten that rotation, really. I think he gave the bench. They just didn't get it done from him in that second half. And then to end the game, I think he put the ball in Shake Milton's hands to end the game. He's having a tough game already. You don't use Ben Simmons for that play, which he's not a shooter. So if he's not facilitating for you, what's he even out there for?
Right.
Honestly. So it's just making the adjustment there. And it's really just you got to make the adjustment there, and he got to shorten that rotation because when the bench isn't giving you what you need, you just got to kind of stick to you got to stick with your starters, and you got to play more through Ben and Steph Curry. And I mean, honestly, I put this game mainly on Tobias Harris. I can say I don't like how Doc did that last possession with Shaq handling the ball. I think Ben, and I'm a defender of Ben, I don't care how many threes he take. I just think he should be aggressive. I think Ben should be more aggressive, especially in the second half, because Joel's getting tired. I think Doc is putting him in the right positions at times, but I put it on Tobias Harris. Tobias got the big check. Tobias has been playing well in the playoffs, but if Tobias even has 16 points, they don't lose that game. How you have 4 points? And you're taking 4 shots, so you're not getting to the free throw line. You ain't
doing nothing.
You're not a facilitator, you're not a creator. It's just like you're just on the court. There, right. So Tobias is better than that. But I put it on Tobias and Ben to step up more than I put it on Doc. But Phil Jackson once says that Doc teams know how to lose games in the fourth quarter. So
yeah, that's true. But like
on that.
But like you said, this has been a very good playoffs. Some teams have advanced that I know a lot of people probably written off at the beginning of the season. You got Phoenix sitting at home right now, just waiting on their opponent, chilling. And in that Chris Paul
riding around in the city in his GTA cars.
Before we get out of here, I want to bring up Chris Paul real quick, who's going to be out for however long in the health and safety protocol. How surprising was that just so happened to happen right before like the conference finals getting ready to start? Like it's something with Chris Paul every year.
Unfortunately, yeah. And then I mean, like especially at this time, it's like it makes you wonder who you're around, because if it's any time the quarantine is during the playoffs,
right? You shouldn't even be around people right now,
right? So. And then they said he's vaccinated. My whole thing when I saw it, I just was wondering, like, if the other series goes 7, does he still have to miss a game?
Right.
I mean, because that obviously extends the time or whatever. So it was just surprising, but it's just funny though. It always seems like it's just something, with Chris Paul. No disrespect.
Oh, yeah, no disrespect.
But the first round he hurt his shoulder. And luckily they got out of that. Then you get here, and it's like. Now he got to miss some games. It's just funny how it happens. So I think, though, if they go 7, I feel like he should be able to be there. I mean, at worst, he misses one game.
Yeah, he probably won't miss more than one game. If he misses more than one game, the NBA is probably tripping on some other stuff.
Yeah, so that'd be all right.
But with that being said, you got anything else for him?
Other than that, no, that's it for today. As always, appreciate the viewers. Appreciate anyone that listens to the pod or the radio show. Of course, you can find us on Nothing But Net Radio through the Dash Radio app every Monday and Friday. Today is Friday, so every Monday and Friday at 8 p.m. on the Dash Radio app. Go to the Nothing But Net channel like that. And as I always say, our Off the Ball Network also has, multiple shows on the Nothing But Net channel. So go ahead and check that out and get your basketball fix from there. Every Friday, Cooper's Morning Run. We right here on the Off the Ball Network's Facebook page. Shout out to the Off the Ball Network. And on the Hoopers Twitter page, plus the Hoopers YouTube page. Then you can find us anywhere podcasts are available: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, iHeartRadio, Pandora, anywhere you can get podcasts. And since it's Friday, we won't be here Sunday. But shout out to all the dads out there. Happy Father's Day on Sunday. Repping the Good Dad Gang shirt.
I ain't a dad, but shout out to y'all though.
Happy Father's Day. I gotta say that since I am a father. So happy Father's Day to everyone. Hope y'all. Somebody needs to barbecue for you this Sunday. I don't want to see y'all on the grill. I want to see somebody else on the grill.
Right. Who made baskets for Father's Day?
Exactly. What Father's Day basket at? Off the Ball Network Father's Day baskets coming. Sponsored by Worldwide Fresh. I got y'all.
And with that being said, I'm John W.
Fresh X.
And this was the Hoopers Morning Run.
See y'all next Friday, players.